Hello and welcome to Camera Review. Today we are looking at one of the vintage lenses. I've been getting a lot of inquiries about lenses that are cheap, that are very good and great performance, and things that they can be adapted to either Nikon and Canon, even the Sony lens mounts. And this is very, very important to have lenses that can be adapted to different cameras. As you may know, you cannot take the Canon lens and put it onto Nikon, nor can you take the Leica lenses, put it onto a Canon body. So what has happened is that there are very, very limited number of lenses that you can adapt to, for example, all these different types of camera bodies. Now, the photographs and the videos I'm going to show you are shot on a Canon body, Canon 1DC. And what we are doing is we are putting an adapter on this lens. So you probably are wondering what the lens is. It's the Pentacon 135mm f2.8. This was one of the greatest lenses that were ever manufactured in Germany in the 1960s and 70s, right before all the way up to the time when the wall was built and the two countries were separated. So when the two countries were separated, the Zeiss production went on to produce what they call the Pentagon Series. Because of the name infringement issues, copyright issues, they had to go with a different name. And this lens that you're seeing here is got made in GDR, which means Democratic Republic of Germany. And this is the lens that has been in the market for quite some time. It has been tested. There are many, many versions of this lens. For example, you can find the auto version, the electric version. The one I'm holding in my hand is the electrical version. These are the latest versions of that series. And what is important is when you look at these lenses, you'll find that they were very well built. They were very compact. They were yet heavy, provided these incredible details, incredible sharpness, micro contrast, all the things that you would expect from a well-built lens. And what I do really love about this lens is its metal construction. There's nothing plasticky on this body, and it delivers amazing results all the way from the f2.8 to f22. Now, as you know, most lenses that are produced in the recent times, they don't open up to f22, they open up to f16. But having that ability to go up to f22 gives you that latitude of being able to use it in bright daylight or in situations where the light is very strong and you need to dial the aperture down. Now, this is what's also happening here. This lens, the way it's built, it has two dials on top. One dial is to control the aperture, which you're going to have to do manually if you're using either Canon, Nikon, or Sony body. And you have a focus that is also manual. There is nothing in here that is automatic. And that's what makes it beautiful, because what you're going to do is, if you're filming, for example, it has a very long focus stroke. What does that mean is that you can get a very, very accurate focus. And that is what's most important when you're doing filming, to be able to pull that focus correctly without having to throw the subject out of focus. Now, with the modern lenses, what has happened is that modern lenses have very short throw, which is why they are so fast, is because the autofocus has less travel that it needs to do, and that way it can focus faster. That's why you're getting supersonic autofocus and all the other functions. What you are also going to be seeing is that when you have lenses that are like this, that has manual focus, then you're going to find out that these lenses can have a very minuscule focus point that is so accurate that it's the way that it's supposed to render the image with that accuracy. So what has happened is, if you, for example, take a 135mm f2 or f2.8, you're going to have a very hard time focusing with manually if you are not used to it. This is the reason you have to be familiar with using manual lenses. Yet this is one of the greatest advantages of having this kind of lens. Remember, in the video and filming business, especially in the feature films, they still use manual focus, and they have what they have is these focus pullers where they do pull the focus by a remote system. And what's happening is that they are controlled by humans rather than automatic focus, which is one way to attain great image and better follow. And one of the things that you're gonna notice is that you can take this lens, put it on a Canon body, or put it even onto a Red Epic or a Red Dragon, and you're gonna get amazing results. And this is the reason why you want to be able to use this lens in video. It gives that great latitude, great capability to do all kinds of things. Secondly, what you're gonna find is that it is very sharp. It's very sharp and it renders beautiful images. Now, what happened with the newer lenses is that the lenses have had more and more elements put in and more groupings. What has happened is that the light gets processed many times before it reaches the sensor. Of course, this helps to correct some of the vignetting, for example. It helps to correct some of the chromatic aberration, but it also makes the image very flat. You're losing some of that micro contrast. You're losing some of those great details that you could possibly capture, and you're foregoing it because you want to have, for example, accuracy, and you want to have sharpness, and you want to have all these other things that are not so as fundamental as having micro contrast and that 3D pop. 3D pop comes because of that separation. It comes because of that micro contrast. It comes because the lens is able to resolve. Now, this has superior optics, incredible optics, and what is beautiful is that it delivers sharpness, and it can do it in a low element lens count. What does that mean? It doesn't have as many elements. So what you're getting is you're getting as good of an image from a lens without having to put additional elements and without having to process the image further and further until it becomes flattened. So this is the reason I like this lens. Now, other things that you may notice is that it has a built-in lens hood. It extends out, closes in, beautiful, so you don't need to carry extra lens hoods, you don't need to carry anything else, and you can put a lens filter on the front, which allows you to be able to use UV filters or lenses that have like ND filters, and that means that you have multiple options of being able to adapt this lens to various circumstances for various applications. Now, before I go on further, I want to tell you that I made a review about the 50mm Pentacon. You can also find that review in our video selections, and you can see what that lens is all about. As far as this lens is, you're gonna have images that I'm gonna show you, both as close-ups or the qualities of this lens, also as portraits to show you how this would function as a portrait lens, and to show you what the colors and the skin tones and the gradation of tonalities will be achieved with this lens. Also, I'm going to show you videos within this video to show you how this lens captures images as well. But what I would like you to do is, if you have the chance, and if you have really like this lens, to go to the description section below, look at the article that I've written, which is found on camerareview.ca. This is our official website, and you can actually see the images and look at them yourself and make a judgment on those images by truly examining each quality that this lens renders. So let's look at the images and then talk further. So we are looking at the photos for the Pentacon 135mm, and these are shot mostly wide open. Some of the photographs we shot were at 5.6 or f8, depending on the lighting conditions. But what I would like you to see, first of all, is how this lens is able to separate the background from the foreground and also bring that beautiful bokeh. And I have done a lot of these different shots so that you can look at them. First of all, you're going to look at photographs that are close-up photographs. What I mean is close-up of an object or something that we are looking at and seeing it, how it performs. And then we're going to look at it in a portrait format and see how it renders skin tones and colors, etc. So first of all, let's look at these photographs. These are of MG cars that I took. This is down my street, and a lot of old cars come to this area. And what we are seeing here, first of all, is this image. And look at the front grille, how it's in beautiful focus. The colors are beautiful on the renditioning. There's a tremendous amount of detail, especially if you look at the headlights, and you can see every strand, everything so well in focus. But what I really wanted to show you with this photograph is that how it kind of blends in, and there's this beautiful bokeh. Look behind the emblem on the top of the grill. You see how in the back it kind of fades, this beautiful fade, and it's a smooth fade. It is beautiful, and it does have a creamy bokeh, and this is what we are attempting to attain, to create that isolation, that 3D pop that comes from being able to isolate the background from the subject. So again, we're looking at a second image now. What you're going to be seeing is this image has certain parts in focus and certain parts out of focus, yet it is beautifully rendered. The format that I've used for this is, if you look at the miles per hour speedometer, you're going to see that everything is in focus. But look at the RPM. It's starting to fall out of focus because the focus was on the miles per hour thing. And if you are intending to have everything in focus, you can turn this up to 5.6 or f8, and things will be in focus. But what I want to show you is the isolation that happens when you are in focus and things are slightly falls out of focus as you move, and the focus that falls out is something that is going to create the bokeh. And what you want to do is, in this, for example, photograph, I could have highlighted the MG symbol, which is on the steering wheel, which is beautifully in focus. You can see that we have highlighted the MG symbol. It's beautifully in focus, but you're seeing the background is out of focus. And what's happening is that it's slowly falling out of focus, but it's not creating that jarring effect. And we could have possibly gone even higher in the f-stops and gotten everything in focus. So if you did the f8, f11, we would get a lot of that. But what is important is to notice how the transition happens. Again, here I wanted to show you what would happen if you shot it at f8 or f5.6, and you can see the speedometer and the RPM dials as well as other things are in focus. What you're seeing is the MG symbol is falling out of focus now, even though it's a shallow depth of field. And look at the front of the car. It's just so creamy and beautiful bokeh that falls out. And what you're having is your attention is automatically drawn to the center of this frame, which is where we would like to have your concentration go to as a viewer. And then the next photograph is this red car, and you can see that the focus was on the mirror, and you can see how nicely that is. And again, beautiful out of focus part is just so nice, and it's so smooth and creamy. It gives the backdrop, and I do like the way it renders it. It renders the images so creamy, and the colors are very natural. You see the red, that's a very hard red to get it accurate if you are, for example, doing photography and the lens does not render as beautifully as it should. Next one, this is where I wanted to really show the details that comes out of this lens. And notice how this was shot at f8. Notice everything is beautifully in focus, and you can see that that in focus part just extends all the way to the front of the car, and you can read every writing, every letter, everything that is of beautiful contrast on the wheel, on the sides. You can see the reflections on the chrome part. This is just simply a beautiful way of talking through the language of the lens, and that is what we have attempted to do in this photograph. Well, going on to the next one, I again wanted to show you, if shooting at f8, what would happen. You can see that the image here has the wheels and the color. It's beautifully rendered, but look at what happens with the green leaves on the background. We see that they are in beautiful separation. There is that 3D pop that happens when you use this lens, and that is what we have attempted to do in this photograph. Going on to the next one, I wanted to again show you what would happen if you use a wider aperture of f5.6, and again you can see the grill is beautiful, chrome is beautiful, the black comes out nicely. There's this reflection of the sky on the car's polished surface, and you can see the background again gently melting away. Even though if it's 5.6, you're seeing some of it, but it's nicely bokeh'd out, and that's what we like. Now going on to the next photograph, which is got this mirror again on the white car. Again, notice what happens. I wanted to show you what happens with the highlights. Now I shot this on a bright day at almost noontime, and you would have a lot of reflection. So what would happen is we could pull out and see what would happen with the highlights so strong, with the contrast so strong. And what happens is we seeing details still there. You're seeing the details on the mirror, you're seeing the details on the chrome, you're seeing the details on the steering wheel, and this is what we are attempting to do. Now we have this kind of a shot that I really love, which is the lineup of these cars. And again, look at the front. You're seeing the car all well in great detail. The image is sharp, it's smooth, again shot at 5.6, and you're seeing the beautiful gradation of tones that extend backwards. And look at the way that this beige color, which is very hard to capture in photographs, of like the tonalities being so beautifully rendered, giving this three-dimensional look to this image. Now going on to the photographs of the portraits, we are seeing this gentleman here is wearing a straw hat, black shirt. Again, notice this is bright daytime, and you're seeing the lines on his face, you're seeing the expression on his face, and you're seeing that this is something that tells a story, tells of everything that is happening at the moment with the expression on his face. And this is what you are able to capture. And notice how he kind of pops out of the background. We're seeing the foreground, it has some greenery on top, but the background is there, but it's not something that pulls in the guy. He's pushing away from him and creating this 3D separation. Now here is a photograph of this gentleman at this, he's laughing, and there's a strong light coming in. I wanted to shoot this photograph with this kind of a strong light and see how it would appear. Look at the strands in his hair, how beautifully they are rendered, how you can see every little strand and detail. And look at the way the background is so beautifully melted away. There is some element of background, but it's mostly him and all the little finer details that we see. Look at the details on his shirt. You can see how it's beautifully rendered. And look at the way that the blue on the tones of his chair is so accurately captured. This is what we really like, and this is what is important, because a lot of people think that the lens is good, but they don't see how the accuracy of the colors is so important. And this again is a well-made lens from the 1960s and 70s. Next photograph we're looking at is this lady. Again, I wanted to show you the strands of hair. Look at that beautiful tonations of colors in her hair. Look at the beauty of her skin tones. Everything is so gently and beautifully captured. You can see almost the crevices of each and every wrinkle on her face. And also notice on her right hand shoulder, when you're looking at it, that the skin pores are even coming through in the photograph. This is what it is beautiful about. And look at the background, it's so well separated. This is a very cheap lens delivering an incredible quality that should be worth in thousands of dollars. But what is important is how you use the lens. It's not an easy lens to use, but if you know how to use it, you're gonna get great images. Going on to the next one, I wanted to capture this lady here in white pants. Notice her hair, notice the way she's seated, and notice how she's again separated from the background. Again, we are seeing details, and look at her feet. You can see the veins, you can see the details, and look at the tonalities that happens on her skin tones. They are so well rounded, so natural, the way most Leica lenses render those images. And sometimes we find these in some beautiful, expensive lenses like the Otus lenses. Yet again, this is what we want to capture. We don't want HDR, we want to have natural look, and this is what happens. Again, here I wanted to show you the bokeh, what happens with the bokeh. We have these two gentlemen. One of them is out of focus. I particularly wanted to show that so that you can approximate how shallow depth of focus will affect the image. And look at the background. It's this beautiful, smooth background with greens and blues, giving this beautiful contrast of that 3D pop. Again, you can see each details on this gentleman's face. You can see how his skin is somewhat dry, all the blemishes, all the lines. And this is what's beautiful about this lens. It's very, very sharp. It delivers great detail, great micro contrast. And what I could do is I could take this image and crop it and have only this gentleman in focus, and it will give this great image. And going on to this Chinese gentleman, he has a blue shirt, and look at that beautiful tonalities, the way the light falls on it, and look at the hair strands. You see each hair strand, each detail, and every pore on his skin, so well, sharp, so detailed. Yet again, we're not using an aperture that's like f8 or f11. We are using an aperture of f2.8, and we're still getting this incredible sharpness, incredible beauty, and beautiful separation from the background. Going on to the next one, I wanted to shoot this photograph and then crop it, and to show you what happens if you can take an image and crop it down and still maintain that detail. You see this gentleman's face, his hat, everything is in pure detail. This one was shot at f5.6, and look at how the background is still separated from the foreground and the subject. And then when we cropped it, there you go. You can see how it is beautiful. The skin tones, the sunburn on the skin, every little detail beautifully rendered. So I hope this has been an informative review. And if you did like this review, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and also share this video with anyone who may be interested in purchasing a lens that is very, very cheap. You can buy this lens under $200. That means you can buy this lens, have a lot of money left over to do many other things. And believe me, this lens outperforms most of the lenses that are in the market currently. This is a secret weapon that you can have in your arsenal to do all kinds of photography, especially portrait photography, and you're gonna find that this delivers results that are unlike most of the lenses in the market now. It has character, it has beautiful rendition of colors, and beautiful skin tones. So if you also visit our website at camerareview.ca, please remember you can read the article, in-depth photographs, you can examine them, and if you do like them, of course, please leave your comments in the section below, and I'll try to answer any questions you may have. And I thank you for watching.